Alright, welcome back here to part 2 of our anti-hacker test. Picking up right where we left off here, we went ahead and dumped the hashes from the compromised system, and as you can see, they're listed right here. It shows the user account, and then it shows the SID, which is a number value. We always know the administrator account is 500, so if they've changed the name of the administrator account, we'd still be able to identify the built-in administrator account. And then this string of characters after it is the SID, is the password hash. And then below that is each individual user account, so we can see we have a couple users in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and crack these hashes here, and the way we do that is we basically come up here and go into credentials, and then you'll see the credentials are listed here, and we basically just crack the hash, and we're going to use the default values here. Now we do have the capability of putting in our own custom word list, or using rainbow tables and such. Right now we're just using the built-in dictionary that's built in, which is really large. Works pretty good. So as it shows, 5 password hashes have already been cracked, and there's two left. So we'll let this run here. While it's doing that, I'm going to show you a couple other things that hackers have the capability of besides cracking your passwords, and that is basically how they can interact with your system. Actually, real quick here, it looks like it's showing us 2 of the accounts that were cracked. So it looks like the built-in administrator's password was just password, and the other account, IT support, was red light. So that gives you an idea of how quick hashes can be cracked. And again, there's still two left. If the password is very complex, it's going to take a little bit longer. Again, with that being the case, we're going to go ahead and move on and showing you how hackers can interact with a compromised system. Again, there's a bunch of different ways that hackers can interact. So the very first thing I'm going to show you is through a connection called VNC. Stands for Virtual Network Connection. Virtual network connection is very similar to that of RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol, or like a GoToAssist or GoToMeeting or GoToMyPC. Basically what it does is it allows someone to be able to work remotely, basically. And VNC by itself is a normal industry-used remote control tool. However, hackers use it as well, and they have the capabilities here with in Kali Linux to make it very discreet, and where the end user wouldn't even realize something's running like that. So I'm going to show you how this is done. So the very first thing you have to do is launch the viewer, it's called, and the viewer that I use here that's built in is called Xtight VNC Viewer. And since we already have established our secured encrypted tunnel, we just simply point it to ourselves through port forwarding, and it's going to recognize what port number we're going to use, and it's going to forward it right along. So we're using loopback adapter, that port number, press enter, and you're going to see the end user now, so desktop, that's compromised. Now again, from the end user side, there is no pop-ups, there's no indications or warnings that anything happened. With that being the case, it's not until the hacker actually does something. Oops, let me go back to that. That the end user would actually see something going on. So, like for example, if the hacker clicks on the start button, you see the start button opens up, and he goes to my computer, and you'll notice it loads faster on the system on the right because that's locally, that's real time, whereas there's a delay through the internet on the hacker side. So when we click on the C drive, you see it loads instantly on the system on the right, and there's a slight delay here on the left. So anything that you can do setting in front of your computer, the hacker can do as well. So he just browsed into the Windows directory. Maybe he wants to go into the control panel to uninstall something or see what's installed, or who knows exactly what his intentions are. Now, most of you are probably wondering, well, I see everything popping up on my screen when I realize something's going on, and you'd be right. If you ever see your system being remote controlled like that, and you have an authorized IT company or professional to gain access to your system, and it just starts doing things on its own, right there is a definite indication or a symptom or sign that your system's compromised. But hackers are smarter than that. At least good ones are. So there's another command they can use, and it's called idle time. And what this does is it shows the hacker how long the user has been idle for, which means how long has it been since someone has not touched the mouse or clicked a button on the keyboard. And so hackers are able to gauge based on the last time someone's used a system. So if it's been a few hours, it's safe to say that they've already left for the day, or they're out at lunch, or they're sleeping, or who knows what's going on. They're in a meeting, and so the hacker's then able to plan his attack, and just typically they'll jump into that interface to do something really quick that is easier to go about clicking and dragging and dropping and such, opposed to through command line. The other way is through actually remote desktop protocol, RDP. This way is a little bit more in depth, and it's a little better from a sense from a hacker standpoint, meaning it's tougher for an end user to actually see what's going on. And it requires the hacker to create an account locally on that system, which some of you might be wondering, well, that's kind of tough to do. Well, I'm going to show you a script that's built into here that hackers use all the time. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to go ahead and run the script. It's called run get GUI, and then we supply the user account we want to create. We're going to call it hacker. We're going to give it a password. We'll just call it hacker as well, and then we're going to run it. And what this is going to do, it's going to do a few things. First off, it's going to create a new user account with the word hacker as its name, and hacker as its password. Then it's going to actually hide the user account. So when typically you have a user account and you go to log in, you would see all the user accounts there. Well, this script actually removes the registry keys that does that, including if you go in a control panel and look at users or users and groups, the user doesn't show up there either. So this is a hidden user, and so with that being the case now, the next step that we have to do is basically add our user account to the administrators group, and then add it to the remote desktop group, and followed by enabling remote desktop. So here's how we do all of that. So the very first thing we have to do now is we have to enable remote desktop, because a lot of systems by default that feature is disabled unless you are in a corporate environment. So the E is to enable it. So it's going through, and it looked like it recognized that RDP is already enabled. Again, I set this up to simulate a business environment, but if it was disabled, it would have enabled it automatically for us. Then the next thing is we have to get shell. This is another attack vector. And it looks like that way actually failed, so there's another command that will be used to actually execute shell. Let me pull that up here. Do not remember the exact command off the top of my head, and there it is. Alright, so the command is execute fcmd exe. So this is basically saying we want you to execute the command prompt. We're going to interact with it hidden at least, so no one's going to see it on the other side. So now you can see that we are actually in a command prompt, and now at this point we have the capability to now add our hacker account to the administrator group. So the command to do that is net user, excuse me, we've already added the user, it's net local group administrators hacker add. Okay, looks like our script automatically threw it in the administrator's account. I always like to double check that it is, so that's good. And then the next one is net local group, and this is, and because there's spaces in this, we have to put quotations around this. Remote desktop users quotes hacker add. Excellent. So as you can see, the user's already a part of that group as well. So then the next thing we have to do is we have to set up a port forwarding list. So the way that works is we pretty much have to go back into interpreter shell. So we'll go ahead and do that. Oops. Okay. Once we're back in interpreter shell, then we have to basically do what's called a port forward command. We're going to do port forward list just so it shows what's open, and right now there's only one open port forwarding list rule. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up a RDP session port. So the command is port forward add 3389 -p for the other side here, 3389, and we want to target the local host. Okay, so now if we bring up that list, now we see it. So now the way this works is we can now, we should be able to open up a command prompt window here, or a terminal window, shall I say, here in our Kali Linux, and then we issue the rdesktop 0.0.0, because again we are funneling it through our tunnel with the port. And if we did it right, it should prompt us, and it does. So now to show you, if we go to, the word was hacker for the username, hacker for the password, and it shows us, gives us a message that, hey, someone's already logged on this computer, do you want to continue? And if so, the other user has to be disconnected. Now, on a workstation, that's expected. The way a remote desktop works is only one user can be logged in at a time, whereas a server, you can have multiple users logged in at a time. Now you'll notice that the request for connection comes up here, and obviously if you ever see a request for connection and the username is called hackers trying to connect to your system, do you want to allow it? You are going to click no, but you'll notice I didn't click nothing in time, and what happens is RDP is smart enough to realize that if no one's at the logged into the other account, they just might have forgot to sign off or whatever the case is, it's going to go ahead and kick the user out after a set time frame and log the other user in. Excuse me. And so now you'll notice that on the back on the hacker side, we've gone ahead and logged in. You've seen Windows build us a brand new profile. So now we have our own user account here on the system called Hacker. And if we actually go in a control panel here, again, Windows is acting like this is the first time we logged in, because it is. But if we go to user accounts, it shows that we have a hacker account here. However, that's just because we're logged into it. Now, if we were to log off, you'll see now coming back to this system that it doesn't give us an option here to sign in with any hacker account. So we'll go ahead and log in here. So the original user connects back in. And you can see on their side, they don't see that hacker account. Because the hacker account is deleted, or it's not deleted, but it's hidden. And so no one on the system but the hacker can see the hacker's account. So a lot of people don't realize this, but when your system gets compromised with a bad virus or infection, there's a very good chance they've created hidden accounts. And it takes very special tools and knowledge, know-how, to try to identify and find those accounts and remove them. Because without being able to see them, how are normal people, even decent IT personnel, aren't aware that's even capable? How are they supposed to even remove something that they don't know exists? And so that's one way that hackers are able to maintain their access into these environments, is because it's very easy to have a hidden user account on one system. So that was just a quick demo of how hackers can interact multiple ways with systems that are compromised. So I hope you enjoyed the demo here. Tune in next time and we'll show you a couple more attack vectors. Thanks for watching.